I have found something that we have discovered and really embody here at the Condor approach, having the courage to have the conversations that we want to have.
Whether you're a life coach, therapist, biohacker, invested in wellness, or in the healthcare profession, if you have an intention to work in psychedelic spaces, you're in the right place then. If you're called, get involved. But first, get informed. Let's talk the 4 N's: intake, intention, in-space integration, leading to deeper transformations. Psychedelic Coach Podcast, Todd Cole. Walk you through the process, it's all possible. Leave space for the follow through. Most importantly, integration is not optional.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Laz. We're here with Coach Brandylee, another Condor coach. We are at Condor Approach Live here in Austin, Texas. Brandylee is an emotional health and relationship coach coming from Jupiter, Florida. Thanks for joining me, Coach Brandylee.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So share with the people a bit about your story. How did you get into this space of emotional health coaching and relationship coaching? What drove you here?
My life. That's
right.
Such an awesome question. So thank you for asking.
Of course.
Yeah, so I got into health coaching in 2021 through integrative nutrition and was working at a clinic where we coach people through the elimination diet. And then I moved to South Florida about a year and a half after that, and then was working in functional medicine again as a health coach. And I noticed this trend in my clients that if just the way that the space that I leaned into the most and noticed a lot of the conversations would come up between the relationships we have with our children, the relationship we have with our partners and our parents, and the dynamic that leads into how we're feeding ourselves both on and off the plate. How do we keep ourselves busy?
Yeah.
And it just really, it sparked curiosity within me and this knowingness that there's more, this knowingness that there was more that I needed in my life as well. And so I came into the Condor approach in February this year, 2023. And I came in looking for more success with my clients and found greater self-love, which allowed me to hold space better and to realize the roles that I was enacting and the authority that I was giving out.
Okay, great. Thank you for breaking that down. You said something a minute ago about noticing that there was more you could do with your clients, and you also noticed that there was something more that you needed in yourself. What specifically does that mean? What was that more that you noticed you wanted to experience?
Yeah. So for me, I was waking up early. I was getting to work early. I was drinking a lot of caffeine. I was doing all of the biohacking, all of the cold plunges.
Yeah.
I was taking the supplements. I was meeting all the right people. And yet for me, it was very much this like Nike mentality. Just do it.
Yeah.
And so I was doing all of the things and feeling completely disconnected. And was wondering, why was I still so sad? I'd done everything that I thought I was supposed to do. I was eating the right foods. I had the most amazing job. I was just surprised by all of the resources that I had around me to feel the best that I could possibly feel. And the disconnection space was at its height. And that's what really, I'm forgetting your question now, but that's what really just drove me into that space, was knowing that I knew I could feel connected, that I knew that whole person health had to acknowledge the narrative of our lives, that it had to acknowledge what we're reacting to.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, knowing that too is an internal dialogue.
Okay. So that's perfect. The question was, what was the more you noticed that you wanted to experience? So what I got out of that was, just do it. You're doing all the things, but even though you were doing all the things, you didn't feel connected. And so the more was connection. And it's funny you say that, because we are here at the Condor Approach, and we talk about the 3 points of ease being safety, connection, and fulfillment. And you can't get to fulfillment if you're not feeling connected. And the Bible, I was raised religious, and a lot of people listening to this podcast were or are. And in the Bible, it says, peace, be still. A lot of times we're looking for that connection, but we stay so busy. Or I know I also stayed so busy that I was disconnected from myself. So thank you for sharing that. What have you found with the people that you work with around that?
I have found something that we have discovered and really embody here at the Condor Approach, which I think is having the courage to have the conversations that we want to have with our partner. Mm-hmm. We expect.
Definitely.
We expect.
Right.
We assume. We think that they should know. Mm-hmm. You should know that this is what I need. Mm-hmm. You should act this way. And we assign roles and we assign responsibilities and obligations to people and ourselves without actually ever discussing them.
Right. I know I did that for the longest time. And for what I noticed is, I got married and I was checking all these boxes of what it's supposed to look like. I've created this business and I'm making this money now. And my wife and I were both single at the time. We have a son together, and okay, cool. She's single. Let's get back together. Let's get our family back together. I'm checking off all these boxes of these constructs, of these ideas of this is what it's supposed to look like. But what I noticed, this work really helped me to notice, is that I was bypassing a lot of things that I actually wanted to have because I checked the box of what it's, quote, supposed to look like. And it can be scary and lead to not having courage to have those conversations like you were talking about. And I've noticed that in people that I've worked with too. So how do you personally, how have you been able to navigate that for yourself, and how do you support people in navigating that?
I think the biggest thing that's been supportive for me is creating mutual context and letting my partner know, or letting new people that I know right out the gate. Do you have space for me to let you know something about me? I can let you know that when I get nervous, I react this certain way. Or rather, when I'm first meeting people, I really go into observation. I'm a student. I like to sit. I can be a little slower. Sometimes it comes off as cold. And so I like to let people know, I'm not this, I'm not that, but this is how I interpret, this is how I receive information. And then once I establish safety, I can move into the connection space. And so creating a protocol, creating mutual context, and informing people in your life how you operate, so that way, and then going through the progress of that. How do people receive you? What is the safety words that need to be said to move from there? Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about safety for a moment. So when working with people and you're supporting them in creating safety, how do you approach that to begin with? I know we have a way that we've learned that here, but have you found a way that you put your own unique Coach Brandylee spin on it?
Honesty.
Okay.
Honesty. So I've been redeveloping. I've taken a break from having clients. I took a break from the functional medicine. I need some things to be in alignment.
Got
and to feel safe to hold space for people again, to make sure I'm not projecting, I'm not inserting, to be able to actually witness people. And now that I am relaunching my coaching program October 10th, I am letting people know honestly where I'm at. Hey, I'm moving from a nutrition space into an emotional wellness space. This is how we're going to be exploring things and understanding that's what they're looking for, and also not taking on people who aren't for me and having the strength to have that conversation as well and the resources to point them in the right direction.
Okay, cool. You want to break down what is the person to work with you? Who is that?
The person who I am, or the people who I'm looking to work with, are people who have long felt obligated to fulfill what they think society or what they think their family wants for them. They don't feel safe in using their voice to create that path, and they want to learn how to build safety. They want to learn how to build boundaries. They want to learn what their bodies are communicating for them. They are where I have been, where they know what they're supposed to eat. They know what they're supposed to do. They've got all of the pieces in a way, but how do they put it together? How does it look like when you are receiving information in real time? So they're looking for that whole person health element. And for me, that comes into play with emotional wellness.
Okay, cool. So is this for anyone?
Women.
Okay.
Women, 20s and 30s.
Okay.
I think that's such a crucial age point because that is when we are leaving our home. That's when we're leaving our families. That's when we are creating our new lives and developing structures for ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we do it from a place of lack, we're searching, and sometimes we just fill the void with a lot of things and coping mechanisms that don't serve us. So how quickly, not even to rush the process, but to save yourself some time to feel at ease sooner.
Yeah.
And not have to go through what I did.
Yeah. So many, it's interesting you say women in their 20s to 30s, because in the traditional Western, especially American culture, women in their 20s and 30s, even though this is lightened up a bit, women in their 20s and 30s, they start getting to the end of their 20s, they start getting in their 30s, and this internal construct starts to come online, and they start out, I'm not married yet. I don't have a boyfriend yet. I don't have a fiance. Nobody's asking me to marry them, and my biological clock is ticking, and I need to be having kids right now, blah, 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 blah. So that's awesome. What would you say is the number one thing that you find that holds people back from choosing to step into expressing themselves other than safety?
Ourselves.
Say more about that.
I feel that we think a lot of things are happening. We overthink our experiences. We look externally for cues and signals and for invitations to express ourselves. And for that information that we want to put out to be received in a certain way. We're telling ourselves a narrative of what we were raised to be in. And if that's a woman growing up in the United States, that can be to be seen and not, or to be, seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Or it can be to be sexy. It can be to be subservient. It can be a lot of things. And I think that while there is space for all of these roles, if it's holding you back and if it's the narrative that you're supposed to follow in the footpath of what your family wants you to believe and that doesn't resonate with you, then you find yourself searching for that void, for what's missing.
Thank you for sharing that. It's interesting. You said all these things like be seen, not heard, or be sexy. It can also be flipped to, hey, it's okay for you to say certain things, but we don't want to see you. This is don't come in here. This isn't for you. Or even the sexy thing. I've seen people struggle with that, like not being seen as in their full sexual expression, being able to feel like it's okay for them to be sexy because there's some idea that something's wrong with that. Have you experienced working with people with that at all?
I haven't. I'm, to be honest, I'm nervous to navigate that space because I think that there's a lot of trauma, and I think that there's a team that sometimes might be needed to uncover that space. Personally, that's the space that I'm welcoming in now. Because with early childhood experiences, I definitely used sex as a tool to create connection. I used my sexuality not for myself, but for what I thought was going to give me fulfillment, what was going to pass the time, what was not my creative expression. And so when I came into the Condor approach, I actually have healed a lot of my early childhood experiences, a lot of this reclamation of feminine energy within myself, and now get to experience sexuality, get to experience my sensuality, how I want to be seen, how I love the spaces I want to lean into, but now I get to lean into them because it feels good and I want to give myself pleasure. And that's just like the sweetness of life, not as an act, but as an expression.
So what I'm hearing you say is your own personal fulfillment and your own self-expression rather than attempting to get love from outside.
Yes.
Perfect. Got anything else you want to share with the people?
That I'm launching my course October 10th. It's going to be a 6-week class series live held on Zoom. I'm not going to be doing it live on Instagram because I do want to develop that basis of safety, of connection, of fulfillment. I want non-judgment to be the space for us to explore and allow ourselves to be heard for what may feel like the first time.
Yeah.
To develop accountability within the group so that way you know that there's people here who want to see you how you want to be seen and to help create that transformation.
All right. So how do people find you?
Right now at Coach Brandylee on Instagram.
Okay. All right. Cool. So thank you. I appreciate you coming on and sharing yourself. And if you want to connect with Coach Brandylee, another Condor, check the link in the description and do that. I appreciate you coming, fam.
Thank you. Thank you for holding space for me.
Absolutely.
You're a wonderful coach. And for those that don't know who may be just finding Laz via the podcast, you've offered incredible space for me and not even being in the space of being in the fitness industry. So I think it's really important for people to know that as well, how multidimensional your coaching space is.
I thank you for that reflection. I received that. All right, y'all. That's it for this one. Thank y'all for coming. Peace.
Integration is not optional.